Okay, accounting students, welcome back. It's Mrs. Bloomquist. We are in the second half of Chapter 8. Remember, Chapter 8 deals with recording the closing entries and preparing a post-closing trial balance for a service business. What we're looking at here is really the final step in the sequence we have been working through with the accounting cycle. So as we're thinking about what's going on in this last step, preparing the post-closing trial balance, we definitely want to remember that all of our accounts have to be in balance, that we want to check to make sure that all of our debits and credits equal and net out before we would go ahead and begin any new accounting period. So what we're going to be looking at in this chapter, and this section of the chapter, it starts on page 223. We're actually going to be looking at all of the general ledger accounts after the closing entries have been posted, and that's what we're looking at. Now, I know it's fairly tough to see them on this slide, but you can see them much easier if you look on page 223, 224, 225, and they carry over a little bit even into 226. And we want to notice a couple things about them, so it's probably helpful to you if you do grab your book. But what you would want to notice is that you want to check to see what accounts have balance information in them and where the balance is located. Is it a debit balance or a credit balance? And notice that the first account that we see is cash, and it has a debit balance of $25.97. You can see we have a petty cash account, we have an accounts receivable, we're looking through, we have multiple accounts receivable, supplies, prepaid insurance, some accounts payable. Michael Delgado has a capital account and a drawing account. If you notice his drawing account, when we look in the balance section, it has netted out to 0 because he has no debit and no credit balance information. Notice then for that Michael Delgado drawing account that where it's 0, we actually just draw a line through the account, and that is intentional, that's deliberate. You want to make sure that if an account has a 0 balance, that lines are drawn in both the debit and credit columns so that as a reader, I know that it wasn't omitted, that that was done intentionally. Okay? So as you're looking at that, the other thing you might want to consider is that we can see the first account here looks like our income summary account, and it also is showing a 0 balance. But when we look at that final debit that happened on the 31st, that corresponds to the credit that went into the capital account, 3126, and what exactly that meant for the accounting process. Okay. Now, as we look through all of the closing entries that have been posted to all of our general ledger accounts, now we want to be thinking about that post-closing trial balance. So this is the trial balance that's prepared after all of the closing entries have been posted. And you can see right here, we're looking at a sample of a post-closing trial balance. Again, it has a heading up at the top that tells us that this is Delgado Web Services, and that it has the information that what report and the date. So this would be the post-closing trial balance for the fiscal period that ended January 31st. Now, you can see all of the accounts that have a debit balance and all of the accounts that have a credit balance. So we can see all of our account titles, our debits and our credits, the single rule so that we know that we're going to go ahead and total up below that. And you can see that our debit and credit balance information is in balance. And now we record our totals and we double rule below so that we know we have finished our work. Okay. Now, we verified that the balance information matches, and we know that our post-closing trial balance is good to go. Now, the total accounting cycle for a service business, as we're looking at this, you want to remember that we have done various activities for this service-based business And all of the things that we have done from the very beginning all the way through this post-close trial balance are part of the accounting cycle. And that businesses complete all of the activities in the accounting cycle for every single accounting cycle. If we're doing it monthly, we do these same things for each month. So what are the elements of the accounting cycle? Well, we start at the beginning by analyzing transactions. After we go ahead and analyze the transactions, we journalize those transactions. We post those transactions, and remember we posted them to the general ledger. We then prepared the worksheet so that we could get some balance information. Finally, we journalized and posted adjusting entries so that we could get our income statement and balance sheet information. So that would be the preparing financial statements. Finally then, we journalized and posted our closing entries. Remember, we had temporary accounts and permanent accounts, and we did some journalizing and posting of those closing entries for our accounts. Then we prepared a post-closing trial balance to make sure that all of our debit and credit accounts were still in balance, and we can close out then a fiscal accounting cycle and move on, and the next month we would begin again by analyzing transactions. And this process would continue every single fiscal period. All right, so why are lines drawn in both the balance debit and balance credit columns when an account has a zero balance? Again, we want to make sure anybody looking at this information knows we didn't forget to do it. We deliberately noted that we have zero balance information. Which balances go on the post-closing trial balance? Which accounts? Only the accounts with balance information, our permanent accounts, those are the accounts that go on the post-closing trial balance. Why would we omit those temporary accounts then from our post-closing trial balance? They're closed. We posted closing entries, we closed them out, they have a zero balance. We do not need to include them then in that post-closing trial balance. Finally, the steps in the accounting cycle. The first thing, remember, is to analyze transactions. Then we're going to journalize. We're going to post to the general ledger, prepare a worksheet, journalize and post our adjusting entries, prepare our financial statements, journalize and post the closing entries at the end of the time period. And then after we post those closing entries, we're just going to prepare a post-closing trial balance. So you should see all 8 steps right there, and that would be the accounting cycle, and you would want to remember that we would do all of these steps for every accounting cycle. All right, that's it. Looks like we have wrapped up Chapter 8. You want to make sure that you go out into Applia and do the work together and on your own. After you have a chance to process some of that information, go ahead then and start the application problems for Chapter 8.